The views and opinions of the Nissan Nation podcast are simply that. They are views and opinions of its guests or hosts. They do not reflect Nissan corporate or otherwise. Now, a DRB and KGB media presentation, the Nissan Nation podcast. Hit it, Kelly.
Recorded live, coast to coast, it's a Nissan Nation podcast. From camping, racing, and all points in between. The NNP is your Nissan Nation podcast. Now start your engines and welcome in your hosts, David, Danny, and Holden.
What is going on, Nissan Nation? From all things Nissan here in Middle Tennessee to the ATL, and let's fly over to LA. Loving that sunshine, Danny. This is your Nissan Nation podcast, and boys, we have a show tonight. We do. We have the East Coast Xterra Challenge interview. I know people are excited. I've heard the people have spoke, and they wanna know about the East Coast Xterra Challenge, which is, Danny, the longest running Xterra event out there. So that's
it cool. Is a legitimate Xterra only event as well.
That's right. Till next year, when me and Holden show up. But anyways, no, it is, man. It's a great interview that I did, sadly without my boys over there. But Holden, we've got lots of news to talk about, man. Nissan is they're the squeaky wheel that's getting the grease right now, right? Like they're getting a little love from a bunch of different companies.
Yeah, there's all sorts of news: good, bad, indifferent, questionable. I feel like this is the most news we've had to talk about, but it's also the least exciting amount of news to talk about.
That's the damn truth right there.
So it's much like Nissan's current lineup, right? There's a lot of it, but just not a lot to talk about.
I feel like we should name this episode the Nissan Business Report. Lots of business news, very boring.
Yeah. And, not a lot of motorsports news going on, just world economy style news.
Well, first off, Danny, how is the seats in your truck, man? Are they bolted in, ready to go? What's the status, buddy? What's going on with your truck?
So I gave the mock-up seats back and ordered the new seats because apparently that was the deal that we had. I thought the seats that I had, the used seats that they gave me, were they were like new used seats. So I was like, oh, sweet, perfect, let's do this. And then they're like, oh, no, those are like mock-up seats. We're going to get you new seats. And I was like, these are fine. These are good. They're in my truck. That's why they're so good. So I gave the seats back, and I've been texting, asking where the new seats are, and I haven't got them yet. So I'm just trying to be patient because they're free seats. But at the same time, scratch my head.
Papa needs a new pair of shoes, doesn't he? He's got to have some kicks, man.
Yeah, no kidding. So, yeah, I'll have some seats eventually, but
well, that's all right. That's all right.
Until then, I'll be podcasting from my bed again,
live from where the magic happens. It's yours.
I got too many kids.
Hey, Pinky's up there with the wine, buddy. Come on now, be classy. Holden. Speaking of classy, man, dude, how is the new? How's the truck since you've deleted it, man? Any news about that?
It's pretty good, Dave. The interior might be a little dusty because I can't tell you the last time I rode around in the truck with the windows up. Windows are down all the time. All the windows are pretty much open. Love hearing the turbo. So, I mean, I always thought it was kind of bullcrap when people would say, "Oh, there's a night and day difference." And you're like, "Yeah, okay, I'm sure it's something, but I'm sure it's not night and day." And I'm on board. I'm now one of those guys. If you post anything about Titan XD, probably going to tell you, "Hey, you need to just go ahead and delete it."
Just delete the truck.
I've been averaging about 17 miles to the gallon now. Big step up from 11.
Wow,
so that's exciting.
That's because I know you're getting into the truck too all the time just to hear that turbo spool.
Yeah. So that's huge. So big shout out to Josh at CFT Performance. He's over there doing big things. He just got done doing his compounded turbo setup, which is crazy. And then also big shout out to Josh at Atlanta Diesel Performance. We're hooking it up.
Well, and hey, a big shout out to our federal government that mandated all these things that seem to kill gas mileage or fuel mileage and really doesn't do anything for the environment. So big shout out there, guys.
It's okay because I'll just buy the Tesla credits to reduce my carbon footprint.
And
then it won't matter.
Speaking of that, let's get into that a little bit, Holden. So you were reading up that General Motors has been buying credits for their environmental issues, right?
Yeah, so some people may not know this, but GM and Chevrolet for the past few years now have actually been buying credits from Tesla to help meet CAFE regs. So what essentially gas vehicles are helping to subsidize Tesla. If you're still keeping up, since 2010,
that's awesome.
Tesla, since 2010, so almost 10 years now, Tesla has reported almost $2 billion in revenue from the sale of regulatory credits. So essentially, you make cars, you get this amount of credits for your greenhouse gas, and
or lack thereof.
Obviously, Tesla doesn't need them, so they have been selling them. So their gas-guzzling Silverado has been paying to help subsidize the Tesla. So
Damn.
I don't know how much that really reduces your carbon footprint there.
Well, it's okay
Mr. Tesla driver.
It's okay as long as you're paying for it, right? If you just buy the credits, the environment doesn't care, right?
Yeah, the government doesn't care. But if you're one of these people who is actually really trying to help the environment and really cares about that, and that's the reason why you might be buying a Tesla, essentially your Tesla is getting paid and funded to get that technology by gas-guzzling SUVs and trucks that other manufacturers are making.
Well, and go ahead, Danny.
They're getting around the loopholes so they don't have to be more gas efficient. Basically, they're like, Tesla, you do all that environmental and bullshit. We need to just make more Corvettes with 1,000 horsepower.
Well, and speaking of that, if they're subsidizing the trucks, what's GM going to do when Tesla just announced that they're going to build a truck for under $50,000 that reportedly can pull 300,000 pounds? I don't know if you saw that. Me and Holden were talking about that. It's like 300,000 pounds, really. I guess it has those motors have a potential, but I don't think they're going to be pulling a couple houses down the road. Unless that was a typo, which I'm hoping that was a typo that I read.
Even then, even if it's a typo, they're probably typing in 30,000 pounds. At 30,000 pounds, and I'm sure that 30,000 pounds. Let's just say it tows 30. For argument's sake, it can tow 300,000 pounds, like half a mile at like 5 miles an hour. We'll just pretend that's pretty badass.
Right.
Electric motor is torquey, right? And then if we went with the other hypothetical, which is 30,000 pounds, it's probably going to be able to tow 30,000 pounds for like 100 miles as opposed to 500 or something like that they were saying?
Right. Yeah, and the mileage on the truck was something stupid, like 400 to 500. I don't know how you get 100 mile different range, but it's like, 400 to maybe 500. I don't know. But, of course, it's interesting. Tesla's been talking about getting into the truck business for past few years now. And, obviously they're starting to produce a semi. So, I guess the logical step would be to do a truck. But will it be a real truck or what's it going to be, like an El Camino? I don't know.
It'll be interesting. Elon Musk is a wild, groundbreaking dude.
Yep.
And as long as he's getting subsidized by Chevy, he'll just... As long as you never know. Like, he got subsidized by Barack Obama, by solar money and all kinds of subsidies from everywhere in the world, dude.
Right.
He's just getting that money because he's smart and he knows how to do things, and he probably has more extremely smart moneymaker people around him because Tesla's not making money. They make some of their money back probably by selling these cars, but they're not making money off these cars. They're still spending way more than they make, and so they got to get subsidized, right?
Well, especially when you give all your patents away.
That's what this article actually talks about, is that a lot of these cars are sold as technical losses, but they make their money up.
Yeah.
Every Tesla is sold at a loss, but that loss is subsidized by Chevy drivers and others by a couple $1,000s.
Well,
exactly. So, the business model that is not a traditional business model. But if he's making all of his money up and he's getting more money to make more crazy shit, Elon doesn't care where the money comes from. He doesn't care how it gets into his freaking brain, into his Tony Stark fund. He's doing it. Like, love him or hate him, he's doing crazy, amazing stuff. Have you seen the video where he's with the Tesla that's going through the tunnel and the Tesla that goes over a regular road?
Yeah, they're racing.
Joe Rogan was talking about
it,
and I looked up the video, and it's wild. It basically goes on autopilot in the special tunnel. It goes like 200 miles an hour or something like that. Takes way less time.
Well, did you see the other video of him and Joe Rogan? I mean, it dropped Tesla's prices. Their stock.
Oh yeah, I watched that.
Their stock went crazy too.
Stupid. It was for a very short time, then it went back up.
Right. Oh no, I thought it was funny, man. Who cares? It's in California too, so who cares?
And that was like he smoked a joint like one time on like Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And then it's like international news.
I know, man. Well, you can't have you know what's funny is they talk about in the news, and this is sort of digressing, but how all these super thinkers now are like tweaking with acid. They're like taking micro doses of acid to help them.
Yeah, microdosing.
Yeah, and then this guy takes one puff of a joint and it's like collapses his company somehow. But yeah, so the Tesla truck, I mean that was kind of neat, and of course they're saying under $49,000 or something like that, which I doubt that. I really did. That's the price point I doubt.
Well, if GM subsidizes it, maybe that's what it'll be.
Yeah, maybe we'll get some more of those tax credits and it'll be okay.
Oh,
but
man. GM's going to come up with a 3,000 horsepower diesel truck. I mean, and then they'll just buy the credits back on the Tesla truck and then buy themselves into a serious competitor. Apparently, that's their business model.
Well, and speaking of business models, guy, we have big breaking news. Like Renault. Guys, they decided that they wanted to merge with somebody this past week, and it's kind of shocking because we hadn't really reported much on it because I didn't, everybody wants to be the first. Oh, I got the news out real fast, and it was like, yeah, it was kind of shocking news that they decided FCA was their company of choice to want to try to merge with, but
that's Dave, for the layman's, before you throw out acronyms, it's polite to say the name and then use the acronym after.
Oh, sorry. Can you
that was Fiat Chrysler
Automotive,
Group?
yes.
Is that what FCA stands
yes.
for? That's the A,
It'd
right?
also be nice to know what the acronym stands for before you correct somebody.
I was pretty sure it was Auto Group, but you guys were talking FCA so much, it took me a second. Wait a second. I thought it was Fiat. Oh, yeah, it is Fiat Chrysler. I just didn't know what the A was all about.
Well, so it came out a week and a half ago that Renault, who owns a big stake in Nissan and kind of a controlling interest, not really, but they do sort of
12% or 15% or something.
No, they own 43% of Nissan, but they were trying to push Nissan into a merger, and FCA or Fiat Chrysler Automotive Group for Danny over there. They want to merge with Renault because they want some tech. They build all kinds of cool trucks and Jeeps and all that. We all know about that. I guess in Europe they might build a sports car or two. I don't know. Nobody pays attention to what FCA does over there. But they supposedly wanted to merge with Renault because they have no EV tech. And, you're thinking, well, Renault really doesn't have a lot of EV tech because Renault's dependent on Nissan. And, of course, Renault's been pushing Nissan around since the Ghosn scandal. And it was time for a little bit of payback, I think, from Nissan of going, you know what? We're not gonna work with this deal. So, Holden, what's the latest on this?
The latest is that FCA has rescinded their offer to merge with Renault. I know there's a lot of finger pointing going on where Renault is pointing the finger at Nissan since Nissan said they weren't going to support this merger. But I think really where the buck stops, if you will, is with the French government. And I know everyone would be surprised that a government might mess things up yet again. But apparently from what we've been hearing and some reports from people that are slowly leaking out is that the French government just had crazy demands. They wanted to keep all the jobs there. They wanted a headquarters located in France. They wanted a government member to sit on the board. They yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably wanted croissants baked daily in the shape of Renault logos. I mean, who knows?
Right, and their champagne only had to be, it's not white wine. It had to be champagne from France. Yeah. So as you're kind of saying there, once again, the French government has screwed over the people, I guess, whether it be their gas taxes or whatever they like to, the yellow jackets or whatever they call them right now are all pissed off about. But from what we were reading is, FCA was like eager to do it, but FCA wants Nissan involved. And it's because Nissan has the EV tech. And I know I was kind of debating a little bit today when I posted this on our Facebook page that somebody was like, or no, this was on the Frontier page. So somebody was like, well, Renault, they have, or Fiat has all this, look at Jeep and Ram, they have the better tech because of their radio. And I was like, look, dude, that's not the tech that anybody can go put a radio in a car. It's the electrical vehicle tech that they want. I guess Chrysler really, I don't know how you put them, Holden, because they're kind of a third wheel, really. They sell a lot of pickup trucks and they sell a ton of Jeeps. But after that, since Daimler sort of got rid of Chrysler, like they haven't built a car since, and they basically, I don't know what Chrysler builds anymore for cars, and I know Dodge has a couple with the Charger and Challenger, and that's about it. They've killed off the Viper program. So what, I don't get where this was going to benefit anybody except for, Fiat getting some more dealerships in the Americas.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is how would that, because the reason, we can argue how well the Renault and Nissan merger works, but at the end of the day, they don't really compete in the same markets per se. I know there's some Nissan representation in Europe, but it's not as strong as Renault. And then obviously Renault, they do a lot of the Middle East, they do Northern Africa, whereas Nissan, they have more North America, the Asias and everything like that. So this really would have changed the game plan because obviously FCA, one of their bigger markets, is also America. Right. So you would then therefore have Renault merging with FCA and those two not competing as heavily, but then you would have Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, all those competing directly with the little brother, Nissan, and then how that might affect them. At the end of the day, I think that's another reason why Nissan just didn't support the merger at all is, hey, how is this going to affect us?
Right, because they were only offering like Nissan, I think it was like a 7 or 8% share in the new company. And currently Nissan doesn't have any voting power with their shares that they have of Renault. And Renault has I forget, it's something stupid, the controlling interest they have of Nissan. But, and then you add the French government into it, who has a 15% stake in Renault. This is like a love triangle, man. It's pretty crazy. And if you do it, get on Automotive News. They've got a bunch of good articles on this topic. But it's like, it's a bunch of crappy companies trying to merge into one big crappy company, the way I see it is. And it was all dependent on little old Nissan, really.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, that was, we, like you said, people have argued and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, the Nissan, the jointly owned Nissan EV technology is really what was driving this, what was really wanted. That's the only thing that would make sense that FCA would want out of this deal, because they are pretty far behind on the EV technology.
They have nothing, right?
Yeah.
Not even a hybrid that I know of, anything.
Yeah, exactly. And the other discussion all this comes from leads us to is this is possibly the future of the car industry, fellas. Mm-hmm. The cost of R&Ding these new cars, this new technology, all these new standards that governments are coming out with on almost a yearly basis of what's going to be required in cars. It just makes sense to have a huge conglomerate of companies that are sharing that burden.
Right.
If we were going to go in together and invent something, it would be a lot easier for us three to split the cost rather than for me to do it on my own. So that's the reason why you're seeing some of this already with some of these other bigger companies. So,
well, the thing that I've noticed with the automotive world is, when I was a kid, you had GM, Ford, and Dodge was sort of an afterthought of the American Big Three. And, they had fairly good quality, but, it was okay. And then you had the imports like Toyota, Japan, Toyota, Honda, and Nissan. They were all known for quality. And anymore, all these car companies, like, I remember Renaults being here in the States, and they were garbage. I remember Fiat's being here being garbage. They used to just build garbage cars, but everybody builds a good car now. Like, the days of just, like, I don't think people realize, like, you used to get 50,000 miles out of a car, and that was like, well, it's time to chuck that one aside. Everything gets 100, 150,000. Hell, Toyota's got the Tundra that got over 1 million, and there's another one that's about to do it. So the days of just garbage cars are over. So where does that leave some of these companies? Like, they can't survive, right? I mean, that's why, like, Lamborghini and all these people have been bought up several times, is because it's a niche company that can't rely on its own tech.
Well, Dave, I don't think the day of garbage cars is totally done. I don't know if you've been in a Dodge Caliber or basically any Dodge car / wannabe SUV. It is literally the worst vehicles driving on the road right now.
Well, they're owned by who? Fiat?
Yeah, but I don't think they use any of their stuff.
That was somebody was arguing today.
Yeah, listen, like the Fiat merger was great for Dodge. Right. I don't know if it was great for Fiat, whatever, Mercedes, wherever
Daimler
tech in Daimler, Chrysler. But I think all that really good tech that they have that went into their nice cars, that's going into their high-end Dodges, like that nice tech, that good stuff that they got from them, they're putting it in their nice cars, and they're probably bolstering their top of their line, but they're not putting any of that in their junk cars. I'll tell you what.
Because they don't have any. They've literally, I don't know what Chrysler builds right now besides the 300. And so,
do they still have the 200? I know they probably.
No, the 200 they've killed.
Yeah, they've killed a lot of those little ones. They've killed off, but at the same time, I mean, up until very recently, there has just been some very, very trash Dodge cars and small SUVs.
Oh, I would agree.
The Nitro, I mean, all that stuff was just junk.
Yeah, it was like they were throwing darts at a board and whatever stuff.
And nothing. They were throwing darts without the needles at a board, and they were just bouncing off. They were just rental cars.
Well, these guys were talking about on the forum I was reading today. Oh, well, Nissan needs Dodges, because look at the Hellcats and all this stuff. They're building these monster cars, and you're like, do you realize the underpinning of those cars is 15 years old? It's all Chrysler, old Mercedes stuff, or it's old Daimler stuff. It's not. Fiat didn't come in and revolutionize that company. They just sort of took it over.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot going on there. They still got the Journey, the Dodge Journey. That's not a really sought after vehicle. I think that's probably their one. They're still running a Dodge Caravan. Yeah, there's not much left, though, now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah, and, of course, they split Dodge and Ram. They split Ram off of Dodge because at one time they were going to sell that to GM, like GM needed another truck company. But I don't know. Overall, I don't see where there was nothing about this merger that was ever going to benefit Nissan. It was all about basically making Renault stronger. Like, I really think if FCA and Nissan could have merged, that would have been the better deal. And Renault is just like, well, hey guys, come on, our name's first, right? We've got to be the big company.
Yeah, I mean there was no. I mean, I'm not gonna say there was no good way this could shake out for Nissan, but it would have had to really been a reshuffling of the Renault Nissan alliance and then a merger with FCA for it really to be beneficial, because this really was just a 50-50 merger of Renault and FCA, not really Nissan very limitedly included. So
Right. Well, I think Renault didn't really want Nissan included, and then FCA was like, we're not doing this without Nissan. And then where does that leave Mitsubishi? You know, because Nissan.
Oh yeah, we forget sometimes about Mitsubishi. Like whatever, like it's basically a European company these days. I mean,
yeah. So Mitsubishi has to be like they're sitting over there going, what the hell, guys? We just trying to get out of the garbage ourselves, and now you're trying to sell us off. What's going on?
Well, and then also, where does this leave the current alliance now?
Oh, I think the alliance is broken.
Epitome
really.
of you took a girl to dance and she's over there trying to dance with some other dude minute you turn around. So already a fractured relationship, as we've seen playing out with this whole Ghosn news.
Sure.
And now almost secretive type talks were going on between Renault FCA.
Yeah, Nissan didn't know about it.
Yeah. Where does this take this already somewhat fractured relationship as they're trying to pick up the pieces of this?
Well, the timing couldn't be worse, but it also couldn't be better for Nissan, because if you look, obviously Nissan right now is with the Ghosn issue. We've privately talked about it. I don't understand how Renault doesn't get a lot of the garbage that Nissan's getting, because Nissan, I know car sales are tanking right now, and Nissan's always been the bigger company, so I guess it's easier target for reporters to pick on. But Renault, who led Renault to where they're at right now? Ghosn. Guess what? He did the same thing to Renault that he did to Nissan. They were embezzling money. They were hiding it everywhere. And for some reason, the French get the easy pass on this one, and Nissan's over there being crapped on. But it's the perfect time, even though Nissan's sort of tanking right now, it's the perfect time to buy your way out of this. Whether it be like you take a bunch of cash and you go into heavy debt and it'd be layoffs and, there'd be some idle plants for a while. It would hurt. But Nissan could get out of this deal right now, and while their value is super low, it'd be perfect time to do it.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure. Yes, that would make sense. I think there might be some people who would be facing job losses that would disagree with you.
Well,
Dave,
yeah,
but...
but that's big business, though. I mean, we're just debating big business. Yeah, I realize that they would shutter some plants.
But at the end of the day, I mean, the main cash cow is Nissan. And, I mean, how much is Nissan, really funding some of what Renault's doing? So I think Nissan's getting to the point where, they can get themselves out of this. They can start going back to what they were as a company. They just need that strong leadership to kind of start making some things happen. Now, I know there's a lot of people calling for Saikawa-san to step down, but one thing with that is who is going to lead that?
Right.
Who is going to lead Nissan if he did do that?
Well, because they've had
you've had a lot of top-level executives already jumping ship, and other ones that were, Carlos Ghosn.
Yeah, his lieutenants are all gone.
Lieutenants, yeah. So who knows if those people aren't going to be implemented in some of this litigation that's going on as well.
Well, we were discussing this privately the other day of we'll just kind of tail in this, but with Ghosn, he hasn't got to say anything yet, and there's a court date coming up, and I think we've seen a mass exodus of Ghosn people because he ain't going down with the ship. I don't see him being that captain of a guy that, I'll save my troops. No, the troops, there's going to be some top level troops that are going down with him. And like I said, the timing of this, I think Fiat was perfect timing for them to want to try to do this because both companies are kind of down and they needed a fresh influx of money. But we're this next year with Nissan is going to be pretty fun, I guess, if you're into the brand to watch and see what they do. But speaking of watching and see what they do, guys, I've watched this interview coming up. I've watched these guys for well over 10 years now. And they've been going, I want to say since 2002. It's the East Coast Xterra Challenge. And if you are a car person and you're like, what's the East Coast Xterra Challenge? It's exactly what it sounds. So these guys, when the Nissan Xterra came out in 2000, they started an event. It was everything you need, nothing you don't, and it was a nice little off-road vehicle. So they started in Pennsylvania, just started gathering people to do an off-road event, kind of like your big Jeep clubs have. And they it slowly grew, and then you had the Gen 2 Xterra come out and a bunch of different new owners. And by 2009, it was kind of on the East Coast the event to compete with. Like if you wanted to see all the cool modded, Nissan Xterras, that's where you went. And of course, the Xterra is no longer with us, but the event keeps going. And let's get to that interview with East Coast Xterra Challenge here on the Nissan Nation podcast. All right, so tonight or today, however you listen to this show, we have kind of a big deal. You've heard us talk about Went Windrock a lot and Gone Moab and all these things, but there's the OGs in the house tonight. We've got Mr. Mountain Dew Mike with the East Coast Xterra Challenge, and for those that don't know, this is the original Xterra meet, right?
Yeah, that's correct. It was actually founded back in 2001. It was started by the Mid-Atlantic Xterra Club, MAXI for short, and that was headed up by Michael Gerardo and his group, and they ran it for about 10 years. Mm-hmm. So after 2010, I believe the event was taken over by, I'm trying to remember who it was now. I think it was Dana, mm-hmm. Dana Rux, and I want to say it was Jason. I'm trying to think of Jason's last name. He was Music Man on the New X.
Yeah.
And they ran it for a couple of years. And then in 2013, Michael Gerardo approached us with the Northeast Xterra Club and said, hey, these guys don't want to run it anymore. Would you like to take it over? Because you had shown interest in the past.
Right.
So we said, yeah, sure, not a problem. So in 2013, Xterra took the event over, and we've been running it since.
And for those that don't, what is Xterra exactly?
So Xterra is the Northeast Xterra Club, and a tiny bit of history on that. Xterra is a club that was formed from two former clubs. It was formed from the New England Xterra Club and the Upstate New York Xterra Club. These two clubs had met years ago, actually at ECXE, and after hanging out a lot at that event, the members of both clubs said, geez, we want to do some more things together, not just at ECXE, but we'd like to do more outside of that.
Right.
So after the next couple of years, did more events like the back to school run that we used to run up in New York. And now we merged the two clubs probably back in 2000. Geez, what year was that? That was about 2006, maybe 2005, 2006 that we merged it. And it became the Northeast Xterra Club.
Right.
So
since then, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go right ahead, man. I cut you off there.
No, I was just going to say we've been running that since. We've got, we run events all year round, including the East Coast Xterra Challenge. Like I mentioned, we've got the Back to School Run, which is kind of like a mini East Coast Xterra Challenge. Mm-hmm. Like I said, it used to be run up in New York, upstate New York, and it's changed a little bit. Now it's out of used to be up in New Hampshire. Now it's like not the exact Midwest part of the state of Massachusetts.
Right. But
it's a good time. We've got people coming up from all over still. We've got guys coming up from Jersey and New York, and some of the Pennsylvania guys have come up as well. So it's really a good time.
Right. Yeah. And I've paid attention to that over the years. And what the fall win is, or is it the spring one that y'all do is on private land, right? Like I know y'all used to have a really cool place that y'all would do some rock climbing, and there was really good off-roading.
Yeah. So the Northeast Xterra Club is actually a member of a larger association up here in the Northeast. There's an association called the Northeast Association of Four-Wheel Drive Clubs. And what that association does is that it's working hard to keep this sport of off-roading alive. And they've worked with tons of landowners around this area to, help preserve this. They've gotten permission from various people to get access to, their property.
Right.
So there's a whole, for lack of better words, I guess, like a library of different pieces of property that we have access to, mm-hmm. Because we're a member of this association. So we try to have different runs at different properties up here that we try to, get a piece of property that, anyone can run. So it's anything from stock to moderate to advanced, so that everyone who comes to the event has a good time.
Right. And of course, I don't think a lot of people, us in the South, like, we have land everywhere. There's always off-road parks and everything. But you guys up north, like, it's real restricted what you can do, and it's really hard to come by. And if you do get an off-road park, they don't seem to last super long time.
Yeah, it's true. And it's too bad because, there are a lot of enthusiasts up here. The community's pretty big, and it's true. There's a lot of clubs who are all working together to preserve this hobby. But then there's a lot of yahoos out there who go off their own and they ruin it for everyone. It just takes that one person, and and land gets shut down. I mean, there are still some classics roads around New Hampshire area. There used to be a couple unmaintained public roads here in Massachusetts that we were allowed to use, and then because it's just the locals, town and whatnot, they would dump trash, and it caused a lot of problems, and having bonfires and stuff, and it would just what the towns ended up doing is putting up roadblocks, and we just can't use them anymore.
Right. And in Jersey, the Jersey area, they even shut down the Pine Barns or whatever it was called, and it seemed like
the Pine Barrens I've never been to myself. That's in New Jersey, and I don't know enough about that. Mm-hmm. But I know some of the guys down in the Jersey area, they used to wheel that. I think it's kind of like a similar thing where it was a public area, and again, it just takes one or two people to just ruin it for the rest of the group.
Right, right, and I don't think a lot of younger kids don't realize, like, it's cool to go, kind of doing wheelies and stuff, or peeling out everywhere in the grass and stuff, and getting cool pictures for Instagram. But somebody always takes those pictures and abuse. They misrepresent what you're doing, and they're like, "Look, these people just out tearing up land." So it's important to watch out for, because, like, people with restricted areas like you guys, like, it just takes that one kind of wrong person in the right spot or wrong spot, and then it just ruins for everybody. But so from what I know, I've been in the Nissan world for a long time, but in the off-road world since the mid 2000s, and I've always paid attention to the East Coast Xterra challenge, because there was actually a challenge to it at one time, right? And I know that sometimes goes away and sometimes it comes back, but I'm assuming that's what got the name going, right?
So I'm trying to think of when it was first brought around in 2001. They didn't have a challenge that you're talking about. I think it was probably a little bit later on, halfway into its life, that the challenge was you could set up teams of it was 2 trucks, 2 drivers, and 2 spotters. Mm-hmm. And what the Maxi group would do is they would pick out a couple of trails down at Roush Creek Off-Road Park ahead of time. They'd map out the challenge, and I can't remember if they had different categories, if they had like a stock, moderate, and advanced. But it was like the best timed, who had the best time, and they'd get a trophy at the end. And I know there's a lot of work put into it, and we haven't done it. Right. It's been talked about to bring that back. But I think the key thing really is what the East Coast Xterra challenge is, that, it's for those who are still have an Xterra, still, an enthusiast, and want to just join us. And, it's a 3-day event that a great group of people. And I've seen a lot of people come back year after year. It's really a great time, right. Met a lot of great people there, met a lot of new faces. So it's really, I can't speak enough good things about it.
Well, and I know that it's been big for you guys to have something for everybody. Like over the years, watching you guys on the new X or wherever it was posted, there was always like somebody with a brand new Xterra that y'all would run green trails and stuff like that. Like, you make it a point to, if you're wanting to be an enthusiast and get excited about off-roading, there's something for everybody, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing with our club, is that, we always try to welcome everyone, whether you're new to it or you've had a couple of years under your belt. But we want to make sure that everyone has a good time. We're not out there to push the truck to its limits or even push the driver to their limits. We just want to make sure that you're having a good time, and at the end of the day, you're taking away something, that you've learned something, right, from wheeling. And again, we've seen so many different levels of experience come and go through the years. I've seen a lot of people in the group start from the truck was stock, and and the driver themselves, they were stock and experienced, and then over time the truck has grown, the driver themselves has grown, with their experience, and it's really great to see. It's great to watch that.
Right. I always hate to see the guy that goes out and buys a new truck, and then like 6 months later it's all built, and then they like have no idea how to drive it, and so that's
exactly.
what I've always noticed these events are good for. It be for one, especially if you bring your wife or whoever who controls the pocketbook. You bring them out there and they get to see, that it is a safe hobby. There's a reason for like rock sliders and stuff like that. And, and just as a noob, you're out there, you can see why, and everybody wants to put the bumpers and stuff on, but tires and protection for your vehicle, those seem to be the key things, and they can see that there.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of people, you mentioned that, and I've seen a lot of guys do that before where, like you said, they throw a lot of money at the truck and they can put all the bells and whistles they want on it, but at the end of the day, they don't know really how to use them and or even use the truck, the stock truck itself.
Right. So
we urge a lot of the newbies that come along that learn the truck first. We'll help you learn the truck, help you learn how to use it without all these extra things, and then start building it up. Because you need to not just build up the truck itself, but build up your own experience and your knowledge of wheeling.
Well, a lot of people don't realize that an Xterra is very capable. Even the Gen 1 was a very capable vehicle. I always suggest tires because grip is king. But other than that, like, I was amazed. We would take people to Windrock in stock Xterras, and we would just go over the entry into one of the trails, and it was a little bridge, and they would stop and just be like, they get out of the truck, and I did that, and you're like, we haven't even hit the trail yet, guys. I mean, they would be so excited, and I can't believe this did this. And it's like, this isn't just for Jeeps, guys. Like, four-wheel drive is four-wheel drive.
No, I've definitely seen a lot of noobs like that, and it's great because, again, you're seeing them learn, and you're trying to make them comfortable with this sport, this hobby, and it's really a good feeling. It's just an overall great time, great group of people, great club.
Right. Well, so I see this year that you guys are splitting it up a little bit. One's going to be one day's at one park, and the last 2 days are they Roche Creek, or how does that work? Yeah.
So up until this year, the event has always been the 3 days at Roche Creek Off-Road Park down in Tremont, Pennsylvania, and I think it's over the past 1 to 2 years that the AOAA Trails Off-Road Park has been open, and we've had some of our guys in the club kind of scouted out at a couple other events we've had, and they've gotten familiar with it to a point, and they said, let's incorporate that into ECXE this year, because way back in the past, originally with ECXE, there used to be an old park called Paragon Off-Road Park in Pennsylvania that used to be open, and a lot of guys will rave about it, those that remember it. And so the event used to take place at Paragon a day or two, and then it would to finish off at Roush. Since Paragon closed, we just kept the event going on at Roush. So it's just at one park. So this year we said, let's try to incorporate that second park again, try to keep people's interest going. So we've got the AOAA Trails on Thursday, and then the Roche Creek Off-Road on Friday and Saturday.
Right. So do you expect like people the first day and then you just kind of caravan down to the next, or how does that work exactly?
So a lot of people for the event, it's Thursday's attendance is usually pretty light, because it's still middle of the week. A lot of guys still work and whatnot. So I don't expect a lot of people to be there on Thursday, but Friday and Saturday you start to see the numbers pick up. And usually our base camp, a lot of people will stay over at Twin Groves campground over in Pine Grove, PA. And it's about 20, 25 minutes away from Roush Creek. I'm not sure how far it is from AOAA right now. But for the most part, like I said, that's kind of like the base camp. A lot of people stay there, whether they're renting one of the cabins there, or they're pitching a tent over there, or bringing in one of their own, a camper.
Right. So obviously the first day you're at the one, and then you kind of come to your home park of Roche. For those that don't know, like Roche Creek it's in publications. Like, it's a nice park, and I know they're always trying to expand it, and it's not just muddy trails, guys. Like it's from stock to rock. There's something for everybody there, right?
Yeah, that definitely, I would agree with that. There's they do keep up with the park. It's every time I've been there, it's very clean. Mm-hmm. The trails are well maintained. There are anything from, like you said, from green trails, which is their stock, to blue, which is a moderate, to black, which is advanced, and then they've got red trails, which are more for like the truggies that come down. And it's crazy because when Saturday comes around for the event, that's the busiest day, because not only is it our event there, but you've got a lot of the people who come in from the public, right, and they're wheeling. Then what's really cool about it is that even though you see all these other trucks coming in and whatnot, I've never seen a problem where there's too many trucks on the trails. Mm-hmm. I think there's a good amount to that park that all these people kind of spread out, and you're not running into others.
Right. Which, because you already get 10, 15 vehicles sometimes in a group, and then you run into other groups, and that could be a headache for sure. So the event is July 18th through 20th, right?
That's correct.
And if they want to register, how do they go about doing that?
So you definitely want to check out our website. It's ecxe.xterra.org. And there's a whole registration page there. There's links to register. There's links for our sponsors page. There's a link for the agenda that's going on for the event, and a link back to the discussion, back to our forums, the club forum, so we can see up-to-date information about the event itself. Which
is cool because you guys actually do keep up a pretty good forum on there, and it does seem to be pretty active from time to time. I know Moab, every once in a while, it seems like they have a forum that's active and then it shuts sort of down, and like you guys really, you're big about kind of keeping your community, like, or that's the impression I get from what y'all do, is it's more about community. And
definitely, like I said, there's a lot of people that I've met in the club and have come and have stuck around, and they become really good friends. And so we try to. It's almost like a small family, amongst mm-hmm. us, that there's a core group of us that we're always welcoming, new people in with their rigs, and again, teaching them and helping them out so that they can enjoy the hobby. We try to have an event almost every month. So I'm thinking about, let's see, so we've got ECXE in July. In August, sometimes we'll do like a supporting members run. September is our back to school run. October, we've got our Halloween run. That's usually a nighttime run. November, sometimes we'll throw in a run there. And then December, we have a family-friendly Toys for Tots run, which is on a very stock-friendly trail. And then it starts over in January again. We've got the Northeast. Now, hold on. What is that one? Why can't I think of the name of that one? I can't think of the name of that. It's just now I'm drawing a blank. We've got a run in January. Usually we try to sneak in a snow run in February and March, and then April we've got our April Fool's run. Right. And we're back to the springtime again. May and June we've got some runs up here. Like we've got a run coming up the next week or two here in Massachusetts. That's 2 different pieces of property that we've got access through that the New England, the Northeast Association. So we really try to stay active, try to keep all our events going, get people keep coming back and checking it out.
Right. Well,
have a good time.
If somebody is interested in this, and sometimes it can be a little scary, like you're like, man, I'm still paying on this vehicle, or I'm assuming that y'all treat like noobs with kid gloves. Like, hey, man, we're not here to damage your vehicle. We're here to you learn and have a good time. And
yeah, definitely. That's one of the things we tell people is that if you don't feel if you want to see what this is all about, but you don't feel confident just yet with your own truck, then park it off to the side at the trailhead and jump in with one of us and get a feel for it. Right. And ride around for the day, or ride around till lunchtime, and maybe you jump in your truck after lunch and give it a shot. Mm-hmm. We're open to that. We've done it many times, and we're always willing to do that for anyone. And again, we're not trying to pressure anyone to. I know there's some groups out there that you're not wheeling unless you're breaking something.
Right.
That's not what it's about.
No.
We're just out there to have fun and teach and make sure that everyone's having a good time.
Right, because the last place I want to do repairs is on the trails. Generally, I like to repair things in my garage. It is a point of pride for some people, though. I know, like, they'll go buy the cheapest CVs and just sit there and blow them, and it's like a point of pride to these people, you know? But so some of your sponsors I'm looking at, I see CVT Tents, Firestick, Fortrex, any others that you want to throw out there?
Let's see.
I see Warren, my buddy John with White Knuckle.
White Knuckle, we got Warren. We've got, I'm trying to think who else.
There's Rock Auto.
You're on the page. I should open up the page myself here. Take a look.
There's Ram Mounts. There's Radflow, Overland. What does Overland Journal do? I'm curious.
Overland Journal is pretty cool. So that group, those guys are into, are you familiar with overlanding?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you've heard the term?
Mm-hmm.
So the Overland Journal guys, they've got these catalogs that they put together. I've flipped through them a few times. I think they come out 4 or 5 times a year. That they'll donate some journals, some, like usually an annual subscription that we can raffle off as well. A couple hats and whatnot. They're a pretty cool sponsor that they're returning. They've sponsored us for several years now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really good publication, man. A lot of high end pictures, and if you're really into kind of off-roading, and it's not just in America, like that they do everything. So I see my buddy Mike Nope there with the NPC patch designs. I'm assuming Mike's donating some patches.
Yes. Yep. He was probably one of the first ones that sent the stuff in. I haven't seen Mike in a while. I remember he had come to one of the ECXCs years ago when he was just starting out. Right. And Mike's a great guy, and very grateful the donation he made. And I'm not sure if he's going to make it this year or not to the event, but really cool patches that he donated to us. And we put those up on our Instagram page.
Right. So I see Garvin's on there. So tell us a little bit of what people donated and for those that maybe have never been to an off-road event, what you guys do with this stuff.
So some of the sponsors will donate product. Mm-hmm. Garvin, you just mentioned, for example, Garvin's been great. He'll donate product every single time I reach out to him. Great guy. He'll donate. He's got high lift mounts that you can set up on your roof rack, mm-hmm. and he's got the axe and shovel combo mount that you can mount up there as well. So he usually donates those. Other companies will donate, like Firestick. They'll donate CB antennas. Fortrex, that's a small company out in California. Mm-hmm. That he's a great guy. Again,
he does high-end aluminum stuff, right?
He's got some aluminum stuff. He was originally with like a lot of the Jeep community, where a lot of his mounts, and they're kind of these universal mounts, really cool. Mm-hmm. That mount to those roll bars in the Jeeps, and you can mount anything from like a fire extinguisher to CB antennas to mag lights or any tools. So one of the first products he made for the Nissan Xterra rack was a CB antenna mount, and I bought one of those from him years ago, and we just kept talking. His name is Luke, and Luke's a great guy, really great guy, and he's been sponsoring our events for quite some time now. He usually donates, different mounts, again, for like the mag light mounts or the CB antenna mounts. Really cool.
Right.
Fire stick, I said the antennas. We've got a new one this year, Car Guy Garage, that I reached out to. They're donating for each registered driver. They're going to get a coupon in their swag bag that they can exchange if they go out to their website, Car Guy Garage, and they can get a free. I think it's a magnetic bottle opener.
Oh, nice.
With their logo on it. Yep, they're cool. They're new this year.
What does CVT do with you guys?
CVT usually donates. They usually donate awnings, mm-hmm. Anywhere from a 55-inch to an 80-inch awning that you attach to your roof rack. So this year, what they were donating is this. And I'm trying to
the light system.
It's that new light system. Yeah. It's pretty big. I mean, when it first came in, when I get things shipped to work, because some of these items can get pretty big.
Right.
Yeah, it's a
Like a solar powered. I've actually used this. I know what it is. I've used it when they were prototyping this thing, and it's very cool.
Like on a tripod or something. It's interesting. Definitely interesting. Haven't opened up out of the box yet. Because I try to keep things packaged up because, one of the things I like seeing all these donations from the vendors, but trying to pack up the truck and bring this all down with me along with my own personal stuff. It gets a little tight in the truck.
Right, right. Yeah, I know for when we ended up having to get a trailer, it was like, I have too many things to bring.
Yeah.
But, man, you have a nice list of stuff. Of course, our sticker buddy, Not a Jeep, man. That's always cool.
Jeff's.
Yeah. What does White Knuckle generally do with you guys?
White Knuckle is really cool. The first year that White Knuckle sponsored us, I said, I reached out and said, would you like to sponsor us and whatnot? And they came back and said, sure, we'd love to. We'd like to send you a set of rock sliders. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow. I was shocked. My jaw dropped.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I would love to have, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. And as a side note, we're always grateful for whatever a sponsor will donate to us, big or small. Mm-hmm. It's anything. It's, we're not looking for particular amounts of things. We appreciate it because we know that the Nissan aftermarket community is just, it's small. It's not as big as like Jeeps and whatnot.
Right.
So White Knuckle usually donates those rock sliders, and again, there's another big bulky item I got to pack in the truck to ship down with me.
And they're heavy as can be.
It's a little crazy.
And they come in this big box that's slick, and it's hard to get in anywhere. But no, John and Natalie with White Knuckle are amazing people, man. And of course they're Xterra owners, and they just seem to go big with the community. And guys, if you're interested, those rock sliders are $600-700. It's not like it's some just cheap product, they're well built. Well, so as we kind of wind this down, this is what year, 2019, 20 for the event then, or you said
for the event itself, it's the 19th. Mm-hmm. And for us, it's I can do the math there. For the Xterra hosting, it's our 7th year hosting it.
And I'm sure as a person that does these events, I know it will add gray hairs to you like crazy. Like you stress, I know for me, I'm always worried that I know it's my vacation too a lot of times, but I'm more worried about I don't want to ruin somebody's vacation. And so if you're interested in these, know that the people that put these things on they do really care about people having a good time. It's not somebody just put up a website and you get there and they're cracking a beer going, hell yeah, let's do this, brother. There's a lot of work that goes into these things.
There's a lot of work behind the scenes. There's another part of the forum that, is restricted to the events committee and whatnot and the officers. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that to make this whole thing, work the way it does. It's crazy, There's a lot of back and forth BS and whatnot, and screaming and yelling over posts and the forum and whatnot, but we come out at the end and the event really comes off as a huge hit. It's a big success every year. It really is. Well,
so this is the 19th year, guys, so don't wait around. I mean, the Xterra sadly has not been with us since 15, but that doesn't mean that the events go away because mine in my driveway it'll be rusting apart, falling apart, and I'm still gonna be dragging it to events. But so it's Thursday, July 18th through Saturday, July 20th. Obviously, the best way to get a hold of you guys, I'm assuming, is the website at ecxc.nexterra.org. I see y'all have an Instagram, Twitter. I'm assuming they can get a hold of you guys that way if that's their preferred method.
Yeah, definitely. They can do it that way. They can hit us up on the forum, hit us up. I believe there's a link on the ECXC website. So there's multiple ways of hitting us up. Again, I'm Mountain Dew Mike, MTDEW Mike on the boards. Send me a PM, hit me up via email. There's links up there. So I'm definitely reachable.
Well, cool, man. Well, till next time, I want to check back after the event and kind of hear maybe how it went. And hopefully some of our listeners, if you haven't been to an off-road event yet, even if you're a car guy and you just want to see what the off-road world's about, go check these things out, man. If you're a car guy, it's the same community as your cars. It's just they drive taller vehicles.
Very cool. Well, David, hey, thank you very much for having us on. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir, man. Until next time, guys. And that was Mountain Dew Mike of the East Coast Xterra Challenge. And I want to say a big thank you to that. And I want to say a big thank you for letting them, allowing us to sponsor their event. We sent a cool ARB chair over to them. And actually, Went Windrock also sent some things. And speaking of Went Windrock, boys, the podcast is now in charge of that event. This is kind of trouble. When Danny gets in charge of things, like bad things happen. I think there's going to be a new desert racing
What are you talking about? Oh, a desert racing challenge at Windrock?
Yeah.
You don't have to find a desert. That's the problem. There's way too much wet at Windrock for there ever to be a desert racing challenge.
But we've got some big plans now that the two other guys over there has some say in what's going on. So that's just a little blip. But the big news of the week, Holden, is a little package that showed up to your dealership. And what was that little package with all this tech?
That was. I'm all confused. I started thinking about Went.
He was thinking
about Went getting thirsty from all the beer I'm gonna.
He was thinking about when Dave came by the dealership, but that was a different little package.
The Nissan Versa, guys, is what I was talking about.
Oh yeah,
that little package.
They had teased us a few weeks ago at some beach thing and kind of showed us, but you couldn't really see anything about it. And now they're doing some training on it, Holden.
Yeah, so got some training on it. Like all training, they never tell you what the prices are going to be. Hey, guys, we're here to do the training. Most important thing you need to know, the price. Well, we don't know. But I know we've talked in the past about we have way too many models, too many options, yada, yada, yada. So I will say I don't usually get excited about Versas. I won't say I was over the moon excited. I was pretty excited, though. We've dumbed down the trim levels, so all you're going to have is an S, an SV, and an SR. From there, the only extra options you're going to have is on your S model, you can get a 5-speed manual or a CVT, and on your SR, you can get the convenience option package, so you get heated front seats and intelligent cruise control.
Easy, guy. You're saying they're putting heated seats in this thing.
Heated seats.
That's almost as good as a Hummer.
The Hummer seats are a little better, I think.
Hummer seats are only a little bit better than that.
I was surprised, though, when you told us about the manual transmission. Like, what is it? Like 5% of the auto industry actually sells manuals, and they're still doing it?
Yeah. I mean, it is surprising. You still do get customers. It seems like a lot of foreign customers who have always had manual transmissions really enjoy buying those. So we very, very rarely even stock them. Even on Z cars, you very rarely even have someone coming in looking for a manual. So I don't know if other regions, I can only speak to my region here in the Southeast. I don't know what the breakdown is maybe for other regions. But I know we talked about it in the Kicks, and I think that's one of the main reasons why the Kicks is selling is all the technology that you're going to be getting in this car. So the S5 speed, I kind of got a hint that it's probably going to start off around $16,000. That's hearsay, but probably a pretty good guesstimate. When we look at, I'll just go over a couple of the real big ones that kind of stand out to me. On safety, you're going to get high beam assist. You're going to get lane departure warning with haptic steering wheel feedback, rear automatic braking, and automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection. So, I mean, that right there, those are some huge tech features that a few years ago you were having to get, platinum level Rogues and things like that. Now here we are, 3 years later, and we're talking about a base level Versa having all that.
Is that pedestrian location thing, is that like for Frogger? So when you try to run over people, like it gives you points, or what is that?
It's like God mode in Frogger. That's essentially what it is. You cannot be run over. A couple other things, a bigger thing on this one, because this has always been the switchblade key. So you're gonna have push button ignition on this one, remote keyless entry, Siri eyes free. You got cruise control. That's pretty standard. 6-way manual driver seat rather than just a 4-way. And 3 USB ports rather than just one. So that's pretty big.
Nice. They're not being stingy.
Yeah, but I mean, I know a lot of people are probably like, "Oh yeah, okay," but if you're talking about a person who's looking at an entry-level car, we're sitting here talking about a $18,000 entry-level car, a good economy car, and you're getting a lot of good safety features. From there, things just get a little bit better. SV, you're obviously going to get your aluminum alloy wheels. A lot of this is just going to be exterior, body matched, exterior door handles, the mirrors, yada yada. You are going to get Apple CarPlay in the SV. You're also going to get the all-important Dave's favorite feature, the rear door alert, blind spot warning, and rear cross traffic alert on the SV.
Wait, why are we worried about traffic across the road?
That way you don't hit it.
Ah, okay.
See there. SR, you're gonna get 17-inch alloy wheels.
Slow down there, guy. Ooh. Slow down there.
17-inch, and instead of the chrome V motion grille, you're gonna get the dark chrome V motion grille.
So when you pull up to that first date,
you get fog lights, LED low lights, body trunk spoiler, and most of this is just
don't spoil
appearance.
The body trunk, man. Dude, come on. I want to see this. You're spoiling it.
Comfort and convenience-wise, you're going to get the Nissan Intelligent Key with remote engine start and the automatic temperature control. So, big things there, Dave.
So
if you are in the market for... also on the SR, you're going to get 6-speaker audio system rather than 4. To bump those sick beats.
That's right, man, and that's important. And I actually, it is a good looking little car. I like the headlights that they kind of have that new Maxima, little bit of look to them. I'm still gonna call this thing Ultima Junior. I get the price point of it, but come on, guys, let's make the car look like its own thing. It does have the floating roof, so that's super important. I mean, because I was like, I looked at it and I was like, holy cow, is that roof floating? No, it was just a trim piece. It's just a trim piece.
Why is it sitting there? Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think at the end of the day, though, if you got someone who's, looking at that price point, whether it be first-time shopper, buying a car for their kid, whatever the case may be, just being able to see all that technology. I think that's something, too, Nissan can do a much, much better job advertising, because the only thing they really seem to advertise right now technology-wise is the assisted, steering and all that, which only comes on, they always advertise it on the SL and the Platinum Rogues.
Right.
So if you look at like the Toyota Yaris and the Honda, or not the Honda, but the Hyundai that competes with this car, none of them have blind spot warning. None of them have remote engine start as an option at all. I'd be hitting that full on. Hey, if you're looking for a car under 20,000 miles or $20,000 that has blind spot warning, rear automatic braking, automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection, high beam assist, lane departure warning, rear cross traffic alert. I mean, that says it all right there.
What motor comes in this thing, man?
That is going to be, are you ready for this, Dave?
Dude, I'm ready.
Hold on to your seatbelt. It is a 1.6 liter with 122 horsepower.
So it's basically the Kicks as a car, right?
Essentially.
I'm sure. I'm going to assume it's almost identical underpinnings on this.
The interior is very similar. No center console. You have the armrest on the driver seat. The display on the dash looks very similar to the Kick. So it was very Kick-esque. Mm-hmm. Did we just make a new word, Kick-esque?
It's not kick-ass, so. But no, it is like I agree with you. It's sort of taking what the Sentra's market and sort of jumping into that. And the only thing is, when's the Nismo version come out?
The Nismo Versa?
Yeah.
I hope never. Do we have to have one?
Well, at one time, the Sentra, what was the VTEC, or what did they call that little, the SR?
The CR Spec V?
Yeah, the Spec V. That was a wicked little car.
Maybe we'll get Ken Block out here. and jumping on the Nissan train.
Well, Ford's not going to make cars, so
do what he did for the Fiesta and the Focus
to the Versa.
I mean, I guess I was going to say, to me, the Versa hatchback was always a very great car, but I really think you kind of can't do that because the kicks play so much in that market now. But and that's another thing we got to start looking at is, new Sentras on the horizon. So like you already said, Dave, this car starts playing into that whole Sentra market with the technology, with everything you're getting. So what are we going to see from the Sentra? I mean, how much of a space is there really between this vehicle and, your base level Altima?
Do you ever see them killing the Sentra?
No, because I think what's going to happen, in my opinion, is they're going to bump everything up. So I think you're going to see Sentra become more Altima become more Maxima, and Maxima start to compete in its own even higher class. If I had to guess, that's what I think will happen in the future, especially as Infiniti continues to shrink in their sales numbers.
Right. Well, we've discussed Infiniti. It's not really needed anymore. I mean, in reality, I don't think Danny was in on that conversation, but like I was, like you were saying, I was looking over sales numbers and Infiniti's just tanking. And then they're moving their headquarters again. It's like every 3 or 4 years they decide, well, we need to move the headquarters. Like that's going to fix the company and their cars. And,
right.
But I don't think that's how it works. So, so as we kind of wind this ship down, Holden, sales numbers, buddy. I know this is Danny. Danny, you're gonna love this. Danny, if you just had to guess, how many Frontiers did they sell last month? Survey says.
See, usually it's around 6,000, and since they just keep selling more every month, I'm gonna say 6,800.
Ooh, 7,492 of them bad boys, man.
What is that, like a 10% more than
8%
over last year?
Yeah, 8% increase, man. So that damn little truck, man, it always trips me out how well it does. But kicks was surprising, 6,000 kicks. So I'm going to say, I mean, yeah, that's not the 100,000 or whatever that GM sells of a truck, but that's a pretty good hit, isn't it, Holden?
Yeah, man, that's a huge hit.
The big one that you were talking about, Holden, was Armada. Like Armada is up crazy.
Yeah, Nissan, they really made a conscious effort to really push Armada. Some of the advertising, some of the stuff they pushed down to dealers, some really interesting things that I guess I just had never realized that, I know one big thing we really pushed. We even had Armadas wrapped in it on the showroom and everything. And then I even cut radio commercials talking about it, about, an Armada's $15,000 cheaper than a Tahoe. So really, what could you do with $15,000? You could buy your new boat with it.
Right.
So that's definitely, and it's crazy to see too, as we talk about, gas prices and is the economy slowing down? Is the car market slowing down? And then you see 102% increase of a vehicle that's, most likely a $50,000 vehicle.
Yeah, that gets 13 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I mean, of course, Armada's kind of on our list of our next adventure vehicle, and so that was kind of surprising to see. But dude, GTR 18 sold in May. That's like ridiculous. They sold 74 last year at this time, which is still sort of ridiculous. 370Z, Danny, how many 370Zs do you think they sold?
106.
Dude, you're close. 198.
Versus... Oh no, dang! I'm killing it, and I don't even know. I may have glanced at this, but I haven't seen this at all. So I'm doing pretty good so far.
Well, so Dan, Altima. How many Altimas do you think they sold?
Ooh, Altima. Wait, what did they just refresh? Did I get them always confused? So many times, dude.
Altima's
the Sentra just got refreshed, right?
Nope,
Nothing got refreshed.
Altima's been refreshed.
That's the one that just came out, though, right?
Yep.
That was the most recent refresh of the cars.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the Versa.
Altima's a redesign.
Yes.
Redesign. Yeah. Let's say it's pretty new. Let's say 5,209.
What? You are not Johnny Nissan, buddy. 24,218.
20,000?
24,000.
Oh, that's right. That's one of those high sellers.
Yeah, which is really down because they used to sell 35,000, I think, of that car or something like that. Something ridiculous.
And what is it? The Rogue's up there in the 20s too, right? As well, 29,000, something like that. They're still selling a lot of Rogues, right?
It's actually down about 10,000. They sold 28,600 of it last month versus 38,000.
Yeah, I remember those being high but lower. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, that gap between Rogue and Altima's definitely shrunk.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you compare that last year, they sold 38,000 Rogues to 23,000 Altimas, and now 24,000 Altimas to 28,000 Rogues. And I know we talked about this. Rogue, it might be super time for them to redesign that. I mean, you're talking about 25% decrease in your bread and butter moneymaker SUV.
Well, when did this design, was it 13, 12, somewhere in when this design came out?
Yeah, like 14. I mean, they kind of did the refresh on it and they've done some facelifts on it, but yeah, it's definitely, like the rest of Nissan's lineup.
Yeah.
Comparatively, it's not as old as some of this stuff, but
we're just going to hit reboot on the Nissan brand and have all new models come out the same year. How about that? People would lose their mind if they just said, "Oh, this year they're all new." Like, they would freak out about it. But Maxima's surprising because that's a good-looking car, and just sales of it just sort of keep trickling lower and lower and lower. 2,153, Danny, if you're keeping a tally.
Yeah, I think that was one of them that when I perused it real quickly, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I was like, or a week or so ago.
Well, what in Murano, which is basically the Maxima of the SUV, 5,634, which leads us to kind of our final little thing is Nissan's talking about millennials. We did market research, and millennials love sedans. They just that's the car they want, which is complete and utter BS. I did a poll on Facebook, and it was like 80% whatever SUVs. But
that's Facebook, Dave.
Well, that's
running a lot of millennials on Facebook.
What?
Yeah, that's true.
On the gram.
Yeah. Well, I can't run a poll on the gram.
You took a bunch of dudes that take selfies.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm going to put my money in Nissan's poll more over Dave's Facebook poll.
Yeah, but their ultimate statistic is these sales, and SUVs are still way above cars.
No, I think they're going from over. And I'm just throwing this out here, Dave, but I feel as though somebody in Nissan probably did a bunch of focus groups and maybe did some polls outside of just their sales.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that large corporations actually do a little bit more than just look at like,
what?
Oh, I made all the people that bought our Versas were between 20 and 23. Let's market to them.
Well, okay, so
a little bit more. You gotta throw them a little bit more of a bone on that one, Dave.
Millennials are what, 20 to 30 basically right now, so they're buying cars.
Born after 84, I believe, so 83, 84 roughly.
Yeah. So
no. You got that weird. Really, it's more like 90.
No,
90
that's different.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're
Gen X was 82.
You got that weird generation kind of in between there. That weird overlap.
You're a millennial, Holden, and that's the truth of it, buddy. There's no way around it. You can't just
folks. Both these guys, they're just old.
Gen X for
life.
life.
Of my flowing, gorgeous hair, and they're trying to put me down. I use the term millennial.
Well, Danny, let's put it this way. So last year, Nissan at this time had sold 53,468 cars in total. This year, they've sold 54,750. Okay, SUVs and trucks, last year they sold 66,739, and they're actually up 0.1%. 66,820 SUVs and trucks sold. So I'm going to say their own BSE poll doesn't even hold water because clearly their sales.
Word for you, Dave.
Oh,
fleet. You can't compare those numbers because you have two exclusively only fleet models in there with the NVs, And Frontier, those numbers are all fleet.
Yeah.
And as someone who sees a lot of buyers day in and day out, you'd be surprised. The majority of people that are buying kicks are over 50 years old.
Oh, definitely. No, definitely. Like Honda, when they brought out the Element, they thought it was going to be, this youthful car, and the average buyer was like 45. So yeah, car manufacturers never get, they never get that right.
It's the funniest thing seeing these people leave in these gunmetal with monarch orange tops, and they're like 65 years old, and they're like, "I love this car," and you're like,
revisiting
this car was not built for you at all.
Exactly. But see, that's what the older buyer wants, though. They want something to make them feel youthful and
they want them something cheap, sporty, fun, and has more room, and it's easy to get into.
That's right.
Cheap, good on gas, blind spot the blind spot warnings and all those little warnings and stuff for the older drivers. They love that stuff.
Dude, my dad needs that so bad.
It's way easier to get in and out of a Kicks as it is into a Versa. You know what I'm saying? You're close to probably the same price point, maybe a little bit more, right? But at the same time, like old people have a hard time getting in and out of cars, man. Them knees are you know, Dave. Those knees start grinding.
They do. You can't sleep on your knees
from
man.
Sleeping. You can't sleep on your knees.
But my poor dad, dude. My dad needs that blind spot warning so bad. Holden, he keeps bugging me about buying a damn car from you, man. I keep.
But you won't let him.
No, because he's 78
Dave's
years
dad,
old.
If you're listening, here's my number. Give me a call since Dave won't let you.
He needs a Kicks for them knees.
He does need a Kicks, man. But you guys are making up my own argument there, Danny. You're like, old people don't want to get, they want SUVs and stuff, but either way, they're still selling a lot more.
20s, beginning.
I believe in buyers.
Do what, Holden? You were kind of breaking in and out there.
I was going to say the majority of my Ultima buyers are that younger, mid-20s, first time on their own car, things like that type of buyer. So Sentra's kind of the same way. I see it's hard to really break it down, but I do think that there is something to be said that this, newer car buying generation is going to be more drawn towards the sedan. Maybe. Just like you saw the big exodus away from minivans. Well, now SUVs are the minivans of this generation. They grew up in SUVs.
Right.
So they want the opposite of that, which is going to be a sedan.
The minivan was never cool from day one of it, man. Even the soccer moms didn't want to drive the damn things. It was just like practical.
It is a tool of the mother who gave up.
That's right.
I don't know.
Sorry, all those mothers.
Have you seen the electric VW van?
That is pretty wicked. Danny, have you seen that?
I'm not weighing in. I refuse to weigh in on that.
Which means Danny
you would live down by the river in the electric VW van.
I'm going to look it up.
So that means Danny.
I never got on the old VW train, dude. I like a Baja Bug, but that's about as close as I get to the VW train.
I knew you weren't true California.
That's right, man. My '64 Volkswagen I had was the most fun to drive, man. Danny, you drive one of them little things, and whatever it had, like 80 horsepower or something, and 4-speed. Dude, you thought it was like a go-kart that could go a lot faster.
I drove one, man, and the roof was falling apart. The thing was put together by the cheapest German screws you could find. Half of them were made in Mexico until 1998 or some bullshit.
Oh gosh!
Dude, listen, you can't go from working on BMWs to working on a VW, which is literally what I did because my buddy had one and we drove it around and went surfing out of it. I just can't do it. And like I said, the only fun I've ever had in a VW Bug was when we rolled one in the badass one in the desert. I'm all for Baja. VWs, they can go beat it up out in the desert, but ain't no reason. That thing is a death trap on the road. That is the most deadly car I've ever rode in on the road. I'd rather be on a motorcycle.
So from all things Nissan here in Middle Tennessee to parts unknown, my name is David Boyd, and what are we, Grumpy Dan? Peace, everybody.